It's been an experience, a roller coaster. As I said, Renault factory burnt down. I got married. We had a car crash going to the wedding reception. I mean, I love making gloves. I left the commercial viability over to Gerard. But I actually love. I mean, what we do here is unique. Absolutely unique. We do what they call table cutting. Modern factory now, we just put the skin really underneath the cutting blade and punch it out. That's not the way we make gloves.
Yeah, they are nicest.
If you don't stretch the leather rightly, and if you don't measure and stretch the leather rightly, you're likely to end up on O'Connell Street with the glove. We feel when we stretch the skin, we know that it's only coming out at the point of the pattern. If you put that into a glove and you sew that, it will fall apart. That's the neck of the skin, and that's the back of the skin, and that's the strongest part of the pelt. You have within that, you have what I call the trank, which is the frame of the glove. You have the thumbs of the glove. You have the fourchettes, which go inside the fingers, and you have in peaky quirks. So that gives an absolutely better fit. A quirk is like a diamond, and that all sounds very simple and very fast, but it's not. They take quite a long time to make. You probably make 5 pairs a day. It's for somebody who wants something that is absolutely beautiful. My father was orphaned in the First World War, and at 16 or 15 he was moved to the Salvation Army in a place called Worcester in England, and that he was indentured into a famous glove factory in England that dates back to Tudor times called Dent's. During the Depression in the 30s, he was offered a job here in Dublin and eventually started the factory in 1943. And from that it grew. And I basically spent my first couple of years learning how to cut gloves. In my day, when we were selling to the likes of Saks of Fifth Avenue or Burdoff and Goodman or Harrods or Christian Dior, glove cutters were the people. It was one of the highest paid apprenticeships. We made fabric gloves. People would remember communion gloves, first communion gloves. They had a pearl on the back, and we made debutantes gloves, dress gloves. We certainly did in the lambskins. We certainly made 1,200-1,500 dozen hand-sewn gloves a year. In Wall Street, we sold a thing called hogskin gloves, which is the most expensive glove you could possibly buy. Usually bought with cashmere lining or silk lining, all hand-sewn. It cost an arm and a leg. I think I made a pair for myself and I lost one in a cinema and I never made another pair. There's so many different types of gloves that you couldn't believe it, and we did them all. And it was a craft. We had a factory in Ashdown with, I think, about 5,000 square feet. People there just sat and learned. Most of the staff came from 2 different areas. One was from Cabra, and the other was from out in Dunboyne and around there. They travelled in by bus. And there was always a shindig in whether Dublin was beating Meath in the GAA Croke Park.
My name is John Quirk, 89, worked with Brian and his father until I retired many years ago. I was the most involved in the fabrics. Fabric gloves, lace, nylon, stretched nylon, that sort of thing. No, everybody seemed to get on with everybody else. There was no problems at all with the staff or anything like that.
We were going to a wedding, and the family were going to a wedding. I can tell you that my mother and father passed the factory when it was on fire on the way back from the reception, which came as a shock. Fire took place in 1972. There was probably about 60 there.
It was salvaged, there was left. Mostly all the knives, and I must have spent about 6 months in the boiler house. Taking knives apart and kind of cleaning them and putting them back, getting them back together again. But it took a while, but you get on with it and that's it, you know.
We moved from what I call the dress glove business to the industrial glove business. And the reason for that is we couldn't get any machinery. We were limited in what we could do. The new glove factory was Castleknock Glove Company. And that went from 73 through to 2003, I think. Over the years, factories had closed all over the UK, closed all over Europe. And Jared would get in a van, he'd ring me up and do we need this, we do need that? Yeah, you buy that. And we'll assemble what we need. And then we opened up again under George Horn. It's been an interesting ride, and it's not been anything like employing 20 odd fellas and hundreds of people. In my day, you've seen factories all over Dublin disappear. That's the reality. You had Winstanleys in Dublin who made shoes. You had factories that made garments of all different descriptions. They're all gone. And it troubles me. But we still have the skill here and we still have the machines here. And it would be a travesty of justice if somebody doesn't stand up and say, hey, you know, we need some capacity within the island of Ireland. I'm 81, been self-employed really since I was 15. When you make something, it's very hard to make any money out of things until you actually get a reasonable volume. Well, but what is critical is who make something that people love. I'm Brian Horn and I make classical gloves, I make dress gloves, and I have served my time with George Horn Limited.
John, you must be starving.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
I have sandwiches there.
No, I'm grand.